Welcome to Collision, where all of our stories collide. My name is Nick Flores, the host. Each of us has an individual story, one of deconstruction, faith, doubt, and trauma. Each story holding value, offering unique insights and perspectives that challenge our own beliefs. Reflecting on our own collective experiences results in us facing a mirror and asking ourselves, how have we been both impacted and impacted others in systems that we have been a part of? Creating a community, collectively moving forward in unity, even if our beliefs around God, religion, church, and culture differ. Creating space for growth, empathy, and resilience. Colliding together to create a beautiful new tapestry. The question for you is, are you willing to join this story? I'm excited to go on this journey with you.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so we'll just start it off. We'll just kick off and introduce yourself, introduce who you are, and start the story where you want to start, and then we'll go from there, and then that's it. Yeah.
Well, my name is Michael Gungor, and I live in Los Angeles. And my bio is always changing depending on, I guess, my mood. I don't know. Let's see what to highlight today. I've got a dog, Lola, sitting next to me. I've got 2 daughters. And I grew up very religious, so religious that I wouldn't have called it religious. It was, I didn't see it as religious. I saw it as the way things were. My dad was a pastor, and I wasn't supposed to be religious. I was supposed to have a relationship with Jesus. And as far as one can have a relationship with Jesus, I was all in. I was, reading my Bible every day and going on missions trips, and even went street witnessing a couple times, like trying to get other people to believe in Jesus, and had a lot of love for God, and that world for me came with a lot of shoulds, who I should be. It was just, which I think that tends to happen with most of us, no matter what the specific meta story is. Like, this is how you should be in society. This is how you should be sexually. This is how you should be. All these things. Most of us have had a good degree of that, I think, but
Yeah.
Mine was a pretty narrow box of what I should be, and very specific and kind of culty. And then I went through years of kind of questioning that, at first quietly. Started with like, maybe the mark of the beast, which was our what we were taught was going to happen at the end of times before Jesus came back. There'd be some big bad guy, the Antichrist, who would make us get the mark of the beast. And if you didn't get it, you would get killed. And if you did get it, you'd go to hell. So you have this big decision to make. And I started questioning that. I was kind of like, that seems a little strange. It seemed like, why all this stuff about faith and like believing in Jesus, but that's what it's going to end up coming down to, is like, if you get this mark, well, how does this all work? And so, but quietly, because it was not okay to question that. It's like early high school, probably. And then from then till like 30 years old, probably, it was a very slow, as I held on to every thread of the beliefs that I had been handed, because my whole life was tied up in it. I was a musician that was touring the world. That was my whole career was built on some levels on like Christian beliefs. Like
Yeah.
I'd written a lot of songs that had gotten sung in churches around the world, and a lot of Christians knew me. And uh, when I started publicly kind of talking more about how I see the world, people would see these little cracks of like, wait, you don't believe Genesis is literal? I was like, oh
Yeah.
no, that was a long time ago. I don't. Um, but that like the sort of the literalist, fundamentalist Christian thing had just fallen apart over. I not even fallen apart. Thankfully, I've been freed from slowly. Why say it's not like it was something that I wish had stayed together. I'm very happy that those bars of fear and shame and superstition and all of that I was freed from eventually. But it was a long, arduous, grasping process in which I was freed from that. Thank heavens, and then
Mm.
kind of went through an interesting seeking spiritual period after I'd sort of let everything go, all belief wise. Because I had had such beautiful experiences, and even in church and in worship and in all the spiritual, uh, communities and environments that I had been in, hundreds or thousands maybe over the years. Um, I'd had really transcendent, beautiful experiences. Like, what do you do with those after not trying to fit them into such fundamentalist boxes?
Yeah.
And so then I went through a kind of a seeking phase and a making sense of things phase um, for the next probably 6 years after I let everything go, belief wise. And then, and then kind of had several experiences where revealed the shape of my seeking mechanism. It was revealed, and um, so now I don't seek spiritual completion or some sort of other plane to get to or anything like that. Now I feel at home in this world, in this moment, and don't claim to know anything, don't claim to believe anything.
Mm.
But I sometimes will still go to church or an ecstatic dance group or a weird, sexual shamanic healing culty kind of weekend that I did. whatever's
Yeah.
seems interesting and fascinating to make life sweeter
Yeah.
for
Like
myself or others.
living in the moment. Because
Yeah,
like as you opened up the pod, you're like, who am I today? What's my bio today?
right.
Who is Michael today? Who do I want to be? And not so much, as you said, seeking of like, what's in the future? What am I gonna find? But it's what is here now around me? What is the feeling? What is the divine presence around me? What does that look like? How can I engage in it in various ways? As you said, of like going on weekend excursions, going to a dance group, going to church even. And it's just like, where am I being led today? And you mentioned like in high school, you really started to chip away, not necessarily break down yet those walls the box that you were in, but you started to chip away. Were you primarily influenced by just what you were hearing on the weekends at church, from your family, from maybe your community at church, or was there any like outside source as well that was just like maybe it's another group of friends of I'm going to start chipping away at this come from?
It didn't feel like I was chipping away at it. It felt like
Hmm.
I was trying to grasp onto it, and it kept like crumbling beneath my fingers,
Mm.
like paper mache or something.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yes, there were definitely outside. Kind of you could take any if you take fundamental like evangelical Christianity and then ask about a specific doctrine and how that very painfully fell apart. I could probably tell you a story about it.
Yeah.
But for instance,
Yeah.
the Genesis thing, because I mentioned that,
Yeah.
that was my freshman year of college, and I was arguing in my class at North Texas University against the teacher's view of the age of the universe and evolution and all that. And I was like, well, I went to Christian school and I've got a bunch of facts and figures to share about how carbon dating is a flawed dating
Yeah.
method to how you come up with what are all this stuff that I've been handed in my
Mm-hmm.
Christian school, and
Yeah.
debate people in chat rooms. I was one of those like creationist debaters online
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
in the early chat room days.
Yeah.
And but then because in college you have to do more sources, you have to like the standard for, at least in my college versus my high school, I had to provide sources and document this stuff. And so in that process where I was like, okay, I'm going to document the science, it very quickly became evident, like as I had to get multiple sources with different perspectives and stuff, which sources were actually using science and which sources were actually
Yeah.
using like belief. And I was
Right.
like, I thought it was opposite. I was trained that it was the secular scientists that were just justifying their atheistic beliefs with this like fudged science, and that the Christian scientists were the ones really doing the good science. And then when I went
Yeah.
into their books and the sources, I was like, oh no, oh no,
Yeah.
I had it wrong. Um, so just one, but every one of the things, it has
Yeah.
an arduous like, oh no, oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would imagine you were probably faced with the question of, well, it's just faith, Michael. Like, you're just supposed to believe. That's why they call it faith. How do you wrestle with that question of like, well, maybe am I supposed to just believe it because that's faith and that's maybe the whole reason of everything is like I'm just supposed to believe God is the reason for everything and this text is just literal because I'm just supposed to believe it that way?
Yeah. I remember the biggest, probably single sledgehammer blow to my worldview um, happened in an airport. I was perusing in a bookstore, and I came across this book that at the time I considered like, I would have put it in like the new age mumbo jumbo kind of category in my head, because we're just talking about everything is God and everyone is, and this book I just read, like I was just perusing like the religion section or something. I don't know what it was, but and in the intro he said like God actually like transcribed this through him or something. There was some kind of like claim like that. It was basically like spirit took over and wrote this through this guy. And I
Yeah.
rolled my eyes. I was like, okay. And then just the terrible, terrible thought came into my brain. How do I know that God wrote the Bible?
Yeah.
And it was like, and not this book. Like, how do I know? By what? How do I know that everything in the Bible was actually handed down by God and transcribed? But this guy who's claiming that it was, how do I compare those two claims? And it was like, don't, everything in my nervous system and body was like, don't think this thought, no. um, and I remember just getting on the plane with just this like, I felt something kind of break, like my certainty break. Um, and yeah, this is when I was in college. Yeah, I just remember like, the slow dawning realization that like I have to trust something, and there's no actual. I can't give that decision away. Like, who am I going to trust? I have to decide that. There's no like. I I thought that I could kind of like pass the buck on that. Well, I know the Bible's true. That's self evident. The
Yeah.
Bible's true. But it's like, oh wait, I have to believe that the Bible's true versus that other book is true, or that this, and what do I have to go? How do I make that decision? And just that little distance from certainty was enough to like, well, eventually set me free, honestly. But
Yeah.
the yeah,
Yeah, it's like you mentioned when I was like, were you chipping away? Or you said no, it was just falling apart in my hand. It's like holding an ice cream and it's just melting. And you're
totally,
just like trying to scoop it back up, make it look perfect again. Like, no, it's still good, it's still good, but
yeah,
it's just gonna keep melting. And
yeah,
now it's a mess and it's everywhere. And it's like, oh, I tried so hard, but it was just inevitable. It's just gonna melt unless you ate it or something. Like it's like that's what it is. And
it's a great
so
image. Yeah,
it's like you said, it set you free. Oh, now I have both my hands are free. I'm not holding this ice cream anymore. I can just continue to go about my life and stop worrying about this. Um, so what were the next steps? Where did you go from there and trying to, I know you mentioned now you've given up kind of seeking answers, but where did you go from now my hands are free of this. I'm free. What what did Michael do?
what happened? I mean, there was a couple of big chapter moments. You can look back and when you're telling a story, you like try to find somewhere to put the
Yeah.
words, put the like where was the thing that changed things. But of course, it was.
Yeah.
I don't think it life actually works that way. Usually, you can see moments where they were like, "Oh wow, that was the moment that it finally fully." I was like, "Okay, I'm done."
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was not just day to day, moment to moment of like, I even after I had pulled apart my or like, how can I believe in God and had quotes around God at that point of like, what is God? I don't know what we're even talking about when we're talking about God. But if I say I believe in God, I maybe can keep my job and my marriage and my family
Yeah.
life. And like, because I know if I say I don't believe in God, that puts me into a camp
Mm.
societally that's the other. I remember what they were like, the demonic atheists who were trying,
Mm.
so I was like,
Yeah.
maybe, and I'm reading all these like really esoteric theologians that are talking about God as like this, the futurity of the ground of being that it doesn't exist, but it's a this stuff we really just work in that language to try to say we can believe in
Yeah.
God still. Um, and at some point that just got tired. I just got so exhausted. Even while I was doing that, the shame thing and the shame thing was so particularly real for me. I think I'm prone to moral scrupulosity,
Mm.
which is kind of like I didn't find this out until I was interviewing someone in a religious podcast, but um, about what that even is. But basically, kind of an obsessive compulsive thing around morality, and a lot of people in religion and fundamentalist religions have been afflicted with these kind of the suffering that is like it's never enough. I was just constantly repenting under my voice, under my just kind of just sorry, sorry. Like even when I didn't believe that God was like a thing that would judge me or send me to hell, after that was long gone, I still had this kind of like feeling I'm not enough. I'm out of sorts with my whatever created me or whatever my ground of being is. I
Yeah.
was like repenting all the time, and so me moving from Christian, I was trying to like present Christian to for a little while just being like, screw it, I'm an atheist, which I did for a little while. It was funny because nothing actually really shifted from the Christian that I was to the atheist. Like I still had just a big question mark over what is reality and what is God. Or like
Yeah.
I didn't know anything, um, but I just stopped trying to make it work.
Mm.
Atheist was almost like a resignation for me of like, put me on the other side. Fine,
Yeah.
I can't keep fighting to like stay acceptable to your side because I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and that letting go was like, oh my god, it was wonderful. It was like all this. I stopped. That was the that's when I stopped doing the repenting under my breath thing. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stop trying to make this work. And that happened in degree after degree. The meditation retreat that I did, it was beautiful. And this, my first mushroom trip, I had a big release of some of those kind of things. All these different like moments of more and more like pieces of that shell that I thought was me. That was just the resistance to life, really, the way I see it now. Just kind of kept dying. It was like this. It fought till its very last breath. It was a very good fighter, but
Yeah.
eventually just like clutching this, the ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's going. I'm not even that I washed my hands. I was trying to save it, trying to
Yeah.
get the last bits of ice cream up and keep hold it, and just eventually the sun just kind of like, well, I guess the ice cream cone is gone.
Yeah. Yeah. You
But
just,
sorry,
oh, I was
go
just gonna
for it.
say, yeah, you were, you're being pushed into this camp of, well, you're not with us, so you're against us. And to be against us means you're an atheist and you're so far on the other side. But you wanted to play, it sounds like you wanted to play in the middle. You were like, I still have a question mark about both sides. I'm questioning what I grew up with, the fundamentalist side, the Christian side, whatever you want to call it. But then I'm also like questioning, like, is there no God? Is there no anything? Like, is atheism even maybe right? And so it's just like, I want to be in the middle, but you were just so tired. It sounds like you just got to the point where you're so tired that you're just like, fine, I'm gonna give up and I'm just gonna go over there because you keep putting me over there.
Yeah.
Did you? What was it? Did from the now we understand what the Christian community was pushing you over there. Did you find any? What was it like? And I'm trying to phrase it, but of like, was there an embrace maybe from the other camp or of like a questioning from them as well? Where, how was the transition of going into the atheist camp that maybe you didn't really necessarily want to be a part of, but then you knew you weren't belonged over there? Was it kind of like being a kid that was picked last for dodgeball or something?
I mean, I never really found an organized atheist camp.
Yeah.
And uh, I didn't really try. I actually
Mm,
was still just even going to church in that time because that's where my friends were, and that's where.
yeah.
Um, and even at that time, like I thought, sometimes the debates between like atheists and Christians or whatever, like these two sides, polarized sides, are so not nuanced.
Yeah.
And I had already gone through the nuance as I tried to stay on my side, as Christian
Mm,
side. So I wasn't gonna like become a fundamentalist atheist either, where it's like I know what reality is, and this like, what does that even mean? Like I remember from the time I was little, I would sometimes I remember have these kind of like almost like the existential moments where I would just sort of wonder about what is, because even when we talk about God, I'd be like, but what, I couldn't get to the words. I was like, what is God? What is reality? But I couldn't. I didn't have word. I would go, what is, and I'd try to like feel reality, and then I'd like explode into being infinite, into this like,
yeah.
and then it would like come back into this body, be like, what? And I try to like talk to my friends about it occasionally. Like, you ever think like, what is, and then you kind of like blink out of existence. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. Um, so I'd had enough of that kind of thing
Mm,
to not believe like I know that, especially I have a clearer vision now of what the myth of basically this idea of the universe as a bunch of separate things, that there's like I'm a thing and you're a thing and that's a thing, and it's like billiard balls, like Newtonian physics, that it's just things bumping into things. and then that's just cause and effect within time. It's like that's not how reality is. It's not by the science anymore. We see that scientifically, and the mystics have seen that always as well. That's not the nature of reality, and I had seen that directly, experientially, in moments like that. But I didn't have this belief that I could really go all in on like Newtonian
Yeah.
physics and separate, which is a lot of kind of modern atheism is built
Mm.
on that sort of like, and a cartoonish God that
Yeah.
they're rejecting. It's like the God that I was saying I believed in yesterday didn't have any substance. So what are you saying you don't believe in? Like, um, so anyway, that didn't put me in a camp per se, but it left me feeling more alone. At least when people thought I was in their camp on the Christian side.
Yeah.
I still felt alone in that, but at least they thought I was on there. Yeah. But it felt pretty lone. It
Yeah.
felt pretty kind of, and honestly, that's why part of why I go back to church sometimes now is that I've never found a camp
Yeah.
that embraces my way of seeing things as like a incompletion.
Yeah. And I think that's the true like misconception of, I know growing up in Christian church as well, it's like there's just always a quote unquote like them, like they believe this, they are out to get you, they are gonna deceive you, and it's like, who's they? Because it sounds like you're saying like there's no like specific nuanced group that's out to like take down Christianity, church, and take down the system.
Right.
It's just like that we're just like normal people, everyday people. We just have a little questions, and it's
Yeah.
like we're tired of holding ice cream all day. Like we just want to sample different flavors, and we want to just try it out for a little bit, see what we like, and then maybe create our own flavor, create what's like what we are deciding to be truth, and that might change day to day. You know, like what is presented to us might be different day to day, but we're not out, like you're not out to get anybody. You're not out to dismantle anything. You're just like, I just have some questions. I'm just a guy with questions that is just looking for something. Like I'm looking for love. I'm looking for spirituality. I'm looking for freedom, and I'm tired of being put in this box. And I think there's a lot of people, you included, and maybe some other people that are just like, I don't want to be, I know what it's like to be in a box. I know what it's like to be told to believe Genesis is infallible truth of creation. I'm supposed to believe the Bible as a whole, 100%, no questions about it. But you're like, I don't want to move to, as you said, like to the camp of atheism that's like so bent on like the science, and it's like, no, this is proof. It's like you're doing the same freaking thing they are. So I don't want to be a part of that camp. So I think that's really neat. Is would you say that is part of how you ended up being like today of, I'm done seeking?
Well, I saw the nature of the seeking, um,
Yeah.
which I thought was a pure, like objective, almost just hunger for truth. And maybe there was a hunger for truth, but I saw how that hunger for truth was being driven by also this need to like want my dad to be proud of me and my friends to think I'm cool, and it was part of my ego. It was part of my
Yeah.
how I identify as a good person. I wanted the truth because I want to be on the. I don't want to be stupid. I want to be smart enough to be lovable, and if I'm lovable, then I'm safe. And I'm saying like these embarrassingly, like mammalian
Mm.
characteristics of myself.
Yeah.
Um, and then it's like in me trying to figure out what God is, seeing how that's sort of the same thing as, you know, my dog coming up to me to get her ear scratched, or a bird building her nest. It's just part of this organism trying to stay alive and thrive and be okay. And just seeing it, it's almost like I was seeing in it for
Mm.
so long. And like sometimes this is what I think can be really valuable about psychedelics or about like meditation, or when you can have a chance to almost back up from how you're seeing in any way.
Yeah.
Anytime it's like you're seeing like through these lenses, and if you can like, what am I seeing through? Anyway, any
Yeah.
technologies that allow you to just like take a minute and look at the lens, and rather than identify like, I mean, if these are purple glasses, I'm just everything's purple. The world's purple. I'm purple. I mean,
Mm.
if I go like, oh, there are purple lenses on here, it changes my view of everything. And so
Yeah.
I saw my seeking. The seeking was up here
Yeah.
forever. It was like, I'm a seeker. I'm just trying to find out the truth. And then I was like, oh, there's seeking happening
Mm. Yeah.
here.
That's good.
And then just seeing that, I couldn't, I can, I might be able to, there might be times where it feels like, oh, if I figure this out, something, I'll be safe or whatever. But it's not believed anymore because I see it. I see what it is. So it might get, if it gets closer up, I think, goodness, I've not gotten lost in that as far as a belief again.
I know a lot. Speaking to people and their stories and especially even for those of us that have a church background, you hear so often that, especially from the church, you hear, you know what, the people that walked away, the people that doubt, and going back to even the comment of it's just faith, you need to have faith, and faith is hard, and then they make it out to be it's so easy to leave this like it's so easy to leave church and just go on and
No, good God.
have fun or whatever and yeah, it sounds like you mentioned a couple times even like you still go back to church every now and then to find community and to seek community. Can you dive into maybe even some of the hardships and the doubts and the struggles maybe you've had along the way of losing community, losing people, and like um almost say like it's not easy. It's a difficult path as well. Like affirm people in that as well.
Yeah. Oh man, anytime I meet somebody who's really changing any significant kind of part of their identity like that, or like coming out in any way about who everyone thinks they are, but they're revealing some truth. How is that ever easy? That's never easy. That you're again going to these mammalian brains that are like this, the amount of security and safety that we derive from social acceptance is not even logical. But it's so tremendously profound to step out of the group. I mean, it's what like, why do you think people's number one fear is public speaking? Like that's not even an unacceptable thing to do. It's just the possibility of not being accepted in front of everybody. That's the most terrifying possible thing for people to do. Because that's how wired we are as these social primates, that like we need each other and we need community and we need support. And so to step out of bounds of what that support system will cover is existentially terrifying.
Mm.
It feels like you're dying. It's so it's to me one of the most courageous things that someone can do is be honest, be authentic, because the truth is none of us, I don't think any of us actually make the cut to our groups, if we have these groups that are based on like beliefs. And
Yeah.
I think that's why everyone actually gets so violent about it, is because nobody actually believes this shit.
Mm.
No, I don't. I think very few people, literally down to their core, believe. I'm gonna say nobody. I'm gonna be a little
Yeah.
extreme. That down to their core, they fully believe all that stuff. if they how could you believe that the God of the universe, like, they're going to say it consciously, yes, but if you really believed that if you don't change people's minds about what they think belief wise, that they're going to burn in a lake of fire for eternity, what are you doing watching your phone right now? Are you the worst human that's ever lived? Like, you think that everyone's going to be burning in hell and you're just watching, that Jesus movie on whatever, the
Yeah.
Netflix, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
what a waste of time. Get out there and save souls. That
Mm.
even the most crazy, like, bullhorn street preacher, I don't know that they actually believe it, because um but we have to pretend that we do, or we have to convince ourselves that we do. So we try to believe it. And so when somebody asks questions or doubts or steps out of the fringe, they're a threat to me, because
Mm.
they're revealing what I don't want to think about.
Yeah.
They're revealing and mirroring back to me my own doubts about this, and I can't have that. Crucify them.
Mm.
And so we scapegoat, and we we secure our borders even stronger, because we're so insecure about what's happening inside the border. And yeah, so I anybody who's willing to, like, value their own heart and their own body and their own sense of what's true and good and beautiful, even to the potential detriment of their social standing, it's one of the most courageous human acts I think possible.
It's really good. And to kind of help round out the conversation, we've covered a lot and we've gone to different places. Looking back on your journey, looking back on your life, um, what advice would you give? And I know a lot of people have a hard time giving that, like, well, one piece of advice, but what is something maybe you would tell young Michael as a kid, and wherever that young Michael is on the timeline, and what would you go back and tell Michael or someone maybe on the same path as you, but years behind, that you've come to understand about yourself, about the universe, about God, about church, anything? And what is some of your, like, you should really know this going forward, or like, I wish I knew this? What
Yeah,
would that be?
I would just encourage him, me, you, I, all, any, to notice the beauty of what is now, including the knowledge of what that next step is. I think, I know what's the next, and that might literally just be like this next breath, but that's all you need is what's right now. And can you trust that beauty? Like, look at it clear enough to see the goodness in it already. And if you don't get lost in your own thoughts about how you should be or how things should be, and you just look at how it is with awareness and an open heart, your steps are going to go exactly where they need to go. And you can't be somewhere else than you are now. You can't be can't be feeling other than what you're feeling now, thinking other than what you're thinking now. This is how it is. And so either you trust the journey and the process, or you don't. So if you do, and you do it with an open heart, you're going to enjoy it a lot more. There's no choice. You don't have a choice on if this is this or not. There's nothing you can do about it. But you can enjoy it or not. And from here, I can see that it's absolutely beautiful, and that your steps in this moment are absolutely perfect. You're exactly where you need to be.
It's awesome. And then lastly, what's one thing you want people to know about Michael? And again, it's like, you're probably going to be faced with the same thing. Who is Michael today? What do I want people to know now? Which is awesome. I think that's a really neat perspective to have. What's something you want people to know about Michael Gungor today?
That's interesting, because I don't. Um, when I talk about like seeing the seeking that has been here,
Yeah.
it also creates a sort of distance in a way from Michael Gungor. I see that as a story,
Yeah.
or a story being told in any different number of ways by any different number of
Yeah.
people. For me, I love the story of Michael Gungor. I don't identify with it. I love it. I love him as a character. The character is actually more. I think a lot of people have thought of the Michael Gungor story character as though Michael is very hurt from the church and is out, saying these things about everybody being God because he's like hurt and lost in some sort of fear or some sort of like, um, escape or something. And it's really not true. Like, I love, I love the church. I love everything and everyone. Um, I have compassion for people that are stuck in belief systems that are oppressive for them. And my compassion leads me to say things I'm not, there's no, like, I have all the gentleness in the world for flesh and blood, for people, for living what is real, but not for thoughts or beliefs. I don't have any regard for them. So I'm ruthless with beliefs, which can feel for people that have attached their identities to those beliefs like I'm being ruthless with people. And so I think that might be part of why sometimes people think that I'm like anti-Christians or something. It's like, no, I love Christians. And I love a lot of Christian theology, honestly, like a lot of Christian practice and theology. I think there's beauty to be found when we make meaning together and we find ways of telling stories that unite us and join us in work of caring for the poor and doing all those. Christians do amazing things. Um, but I also love all kinds of other stories. And
Yeah.
so what I want to know, I would love people to know about Michael, this character is like, he really isn't judging you or any stories. He's not on any team against any other team. I'm on team human, team life. And that's what I would love people to know.
Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. I wish I could say it like that too. So I can mention that's the artist in you for sure. But yeah, thank you for chatting. Thank you for hopping on and being willing to come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. It's a
Gonna,
pleasure to talk to you.